going on, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Superpower Review. I want to start off by saying sorry that there hasn't been any videos this week, but I was sick and now I'm better, and I want to take an opportunity here and just kind of, catch up of everything that's happened this week with purchases and books that I read while I was sick. So before I show you my books, I want to start off again by saying too that tomorrow, I am going to be on TheBoyWhoHad7TalksComicBooks YouTube channel, and he has a game show, a brilliant game show called Comicgories. It's going to be live 5:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time and then 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I will put a link to his YouTube channel in the description so you can be there and watch it. So pretty much it is The Boy Who Had Seven comes up with these categories, and we have to present a book where we feel that fits that category, and you, the voters, vote who wins with best book for that category. So it's a really fun game. Check it out if you have the time. So I went to the comic book shop this week. Obviously Wednesday has passed, a new comic book day. I literally bought one new comic book, and that was a Spawn number 301. This is a cover swipe of the Amazing Spider-Man number 301, which I have up on the shelves over there. In number 300, we see that Spawn had his suit taken away from him by the clown, and we also find out that Spawn no longer needs the suit in order to have his powers or abilities. So I'm almost for certain that we're going to see a lot more of that here in issue 301, and they're probably going to explain more about how he can do this and why he can do this. But 300 was a great read, and I'm definitely interested to be reading number 301 as well. So great cover. I'm not huge on cover swipes, but this one's really cool, and the last one for the Spawn 300 was also very cool. So while I was at the comic book shop, let me just say that right now I have jumped off the Neil Adams Batman train. Of course, I still love it, but I am all about the Len Wein, Bernie Wrightson Swamp Thing train right now. I have a couple of books here on the shelf as well, but I've been reading more and more Swamp Thing, and I have been absolutely loving this character. I want to buy a time machine and go in the past and smack myself every time I said DC sucks. The only thing that DC has is Batman. Well, smack across the face, DC has Swamp Thing, and I love this series. So on the wall at the comic book shop in Seekonk, Massachusetts, called The Time Capsule, they had this book there. This is Swamp Thing number 4. It's a little bit beat on the spine here. If I do end up liking this book, maybe I'll want to upgrade, but this wasn't bad for $10, I guess. So I absolutely love too the Swamp Thing logos on these books. They range from color and whatnot, but this cover seems really dark and very fitting for the time of the year now, doesn't it? Halloween is here. We got, full moons, and we got some leaves over here, and I don't know, it's very fitting. So that wasn't the only Swamp Thing book that they had there, so I ended up picking up a number 5 as well. Another awesome cover by Bernie Wrightson. Again, very fitting for the season. We got a tree in the background with no leaves on it, very fallish. The colors feel very fall. I really love it. It's really cool. I believe in this issue, I haven't read these books yet, but I believe in these issues, and especially number 5 here, we find out that, or Swamp Thing finds out that he can regrow his limbs. So in the classic Swamp Things, I'm reading a little more here and there. He's not very capable of talking, or he really doesn't know his full potential and his powers. But these books, man, Len Wein and Bernie Wrightson together on these 10 issues that they did together are a masterpiece. They are so good, and I can't believe it took me this long to kind of jump on this train, but hey, I ended up jumping on it anyways, and I should be thankful for that. So those are some books that I picked up over the week. So we got Spawn 301, and we got Swamp Thing number 5, and we got Swamp Thing number 4. So I have 4 of these Swamp Thing books. You know, I got 7 there, 9 there. Eventually do want to finish the run. I've been reading a lot of these online, which, you know, I don't really tend to really like. I'd rather have the book in my hand, but yeah, whatever. So while I was sick, I had a lot of time to do some reading in bed over the weekend, drinking some tea, and I ended up getting to reading this Saga paperback. So if you watched one of my previous videos, this was a AOK gift from Hydra Comics. And I gotta say, okay, I'm not very familiar with independent books. Probably like the only independent books that I read is Spawn, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, you know, so on and so forth. I read this over the weekend. I read this in one day, actually. That's how good it was. It's also a thin book, but this was fantastic. A little weird. There are some weird parts, but this was really a fun adventure. I really liked the characters in here. As I was reading this, and for the people who probably have read this before, as I was reading this, okay, I was saying in my head already that this would make such a great TV show, like an animated show, because of the way how the artwork is featured in this comic book. But I think that would be like a really cool show to see on, I don't know, maybe like something on Netflix or an HBO animated show. That would be really cool to see this. But some of these stories that Image has and these independent comic books have, you know, Hollywood wishes that they could come up with stuff like with this, man. Like, this was such a fun, great adventure of 2 people who fall in love trying to escape a corrupt planet or planets with a newborn child. You know, they got bounty hunters after them trying to, you know, kill their baby, and this was such a fun read. And plus, another thing that kind of shocked me is I can't get into things that take place out of space, and you know, but this was really good. I highly recommend this book, and I totally want to get the other books to see where this goes, because the person who narrates it is the baby, but you know, obviously she's older. She mentions in the book that she's older, but this was really good, man. I really liked this a lot. This is by Brian K. Vaughan, and the artist is by Fiona Staples, but really good, highly recommended. I'm definitely going to have to jump more on the independent train because you know, I just too much in the mainstream things. And I read an article on Facebook the other day that was kind of interesting, saying that people who read comic books are now shying away from the superhero stuff and the anti-hero stuff and are reading more of the independent books because they're just so different. And, you know, it's not just that whole thing, okay, I gotta save the world kind of deal, or I gotta save my girlfriend now, or something like that. But it's just different stories, and like I said, Hollywood wish they could come up with stories like that, and they should just make movies like that, because half the work is already done by writing by the book itself, and you know, they don't have to come up with timelines. So another book I've been reading, I haven't finished this yet, and again, this is kind of jumping onto the Swamp Thing and getting to learn more about this new favorite character I have for DC. So my brother let me borrow this. This is the Swamp Thing Saga book number 1. This is written by Alan Moore, and this has been a fantastic read as well. Let me tell you why I've been liking Swamp Thing. Number 1, it's dark. Okay, I really like that. It has a horror, ghoulish sci-fi to it, which I also like as well. It's got some science. And you know, all this time that I've been a comic book person, you know, I knew a little bit about Swamp Thing, but you know, I didn't know enough about Swamp Thing. This book, when you're reading it, you learn that, you know, when Alec Holland died, you think that the swamp turns him into Swamp Thing, which is not the case, which I was kind of shocked about. So when Alec Holland dies and the swamp consumes him, he does die, he is dead, but the swamp mimics the best thing that they can do to create a human, and the Swamp Thing is just Alec Holland's conscious, which is really, really cool. A very interesting story. This book also features a villain in here, the Floronic Man, who uses the Swamp Thing to get in contact of the Green and controls the Green. And Swamp Thing is kind of depressed knowing that he no longer can become Alec Holland again. And when he sees that the world is at threat by the Floronic Man, he finally kind of wakes up and stops being depressed and goes and saves the world. But this has been absolutely amazing. Again, just to kind of brief up about more of this character that I'm really, really enjoying. And I gotta say too that I guess the show that came out that DC provided on their streaming service kind of boosted me to kind of get into Swamp Thing as well, because that was a really fantastic show. Why they canceled that, I have no clue. So these are some of the things I've been reading right now, and I just wanted to come on here and recommend them to you. I highly recommend them. They're super fantastic stories and great artwork. So that's everything I got for you guys today. If you liked anything in this video, be sure to smash that like button. And if you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe. I'll be coming on here again to talk about Rhode Island Comic Con and who's coming, because I really don't know who's going. I know one person that's going, and that's the only reason why I'm going. But we're going to look at it together on who's going to be making an appearance at Rhode Island Comic Con. So that's going to do it for today's video, guys. Don't forget, tomorrow, 5:30 Pacific Standard Time, 8:30 Eastern Standard Time, at The Boy Who Had 7 Talks Comic Books live show for the game show Comicgories. Be sure to vote for me, and may the best collector win that show. That's going to do it for today's video, guys. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.